The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. Dan, Michael and Rob with you on the weekly show. Brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. You can subscribe to TSB Plus if you fancy our members package, where you get loads of extra stuff. Really helps to support us. You get a daily email with all the essential Leeds United news, discounts and early access to our merchandise, and a bonus show as well. The Extra Ball, you get propaganda extra over there. More of the best bits of propaganda. And on the Extra Ball this week, chatting to Tony Dorigo. We're midway through a two-parter with him. A little clip from that for you here. Enjoy. What's your fondest memory of Gary Speed when you look back to that season, or around that time when you were in the sort of the major upswing at that time? Have you got a favourite memory that just sort of jumps out? Maybe him and Batty, I imagine, were involved in something that you can tell.
Let's think. Let's go with this one. Only because Speedo was such an honest bloke, and he didn't want to get into trouble or anything like that, whereas Bats couldn't give a damn. He would do whatever. And I remember the one time we got back from an away game, and we're at Ellen Road. I must have arrived, I don't know, 1:30 in the morning, something like that. And we all jumped in our cars, and there was a few revved engines and what have you going. I thought, here we go. There's a bit of a race on. So we, the police aren't going to listen to this, are they? No, obviously not. Everything's fine. So with a bit of a race on. So we, and a lot of us lived in North Leeds, out near Wetherby and out that way. So you could see this gaggle of cars start to go. Anyway, I overtook someone, put my foot down, and I'm going up Scott Hall Road, and I'm going way too fast up Scott Hall Road at about 1:45 in the morning. And I look back and I see a load of other lights now trying to catch me. So everyone's got their foot to the floor and going. Beyond that, I saw some blue lights. And I'm thinking, okay, no one's got blue lights apart from the police. I'm thinking, oh dear. So I am flying along, then I try and go slower and slower. Anyway, Speedo goes flying past me. Clearly didn't see the blue lights. So now we've got out to the ring road, just past the roundabout, and the police car is flying along to catch us all. So he's past me. He's now caught Speedo, who finally saw there's the policeman behind him, and he just pulls over on a dual carriageway and just cuts us off. So basically, Speedo's stopped. I'm the next one. Yeah, he's gone sideways. I'm the next one. And there's 3 or 4 cars behind me. And I'm just sitting there. And the policeman got out the car at now 2 in the morning. And Bats is in the car with Speedo. And Bats is just laughing. Speedo has jumped out and said, I'm really sorry. I am really sorry. All of us in the cars, we are wetting ourselves like laughing. Because Speedo's just trying to apologise profusely. If he looked at the other copper in the seat, he was laughing as well. Obviously, we all got told off. The windows are down. What are you doing? Don't do that again. Bugger off, guys. And but Speedo was absolutely wetting himself to try and get us out of the mire. But just honest, good bloke, great bloke.
So beyond the starting 11, it's a really good chat. Tony, a lovely guy, isn't he, as well?
Very too nice for this world is Tony.
And that's on the Extra Ball. Details of TSB Plus at thesquareball.net/plus. Into the first part of the show, and it's about Leeds United news, and it's about relegation. It's about relegation watch. Never putting it to bed, or not for another couple of weeks anyway, when it will either come to pass or not. Michael, are we going down?
Yes.
Rob, are we going down?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks ago I was saying I'm just refusing to acknowledge it, whereas now I'm just completely accepted it, I think.
Nah, we're staying up.
I think we might. Yeah, we might. It's us and Burnley, isn't it? Because Everton play Watford, don't they? That's coming up for them, and everyone can beat Watford.
Stranger things have happened, though.
No, not for Watford.
I mean, I don't think Roy Hodgson's really trying now, is he?
No, none of them are. The players know Hodgson's not going to be there next year. The players know half of them aren't going to be there next year. They're all right in the Championship. They're like,
I'm just clutching at straws, but sometimes funny things can happen in football, so you never know.
You've been saying this against Man City and Arsenal.
No, but they do.
Nothing funny happened against us, unless you consider Ilan Mellier's mistake.
I'm thinking about Watford beating Everton potentially. Huge amounts of pressure on Everton. It can do funny things to people. Although it does feel like, they've had a bit of an upswing in momentum, haven't they? It's with them at the minute.
Well, and it's helped that us and Burnley have not picked up points as well. So it makes it easy for them, doesn't it?
We only need to be better than one of those two teams.
The goal difference. The goal difference is a bit of a problem because I can quite conceivably see neither us or Burnley getting another point this year. So to go down on goal difference after such a meek end would be a bit of a shame. But I think there'll be points somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Southampton for trying to get themselves dragged into this as well, because they're not a million miles away off it. It's probably too late to pull them in, but they've only got 2 games left, and they're quite difficult, I think, aren't they, the pair of the games?
It's a real tremendous run they've been on. I mean, one win out of 11. And it's a really strong end to the season. That's the Red Bull philosophy.
This is what they do every year, though, isn't it? They get to that mark and then think, nah, don't need to try now. It's fine.
It is. There are some rumblings about them being a little bit unhappy there, like because they're going to lose. Is it Broja who's going back to Chelsea, and Livermento's been out for most of the season? I think it was an article somebody put out this week, sort of to that effect. I think it might have been on the Athletic, saying, "And now what?" Because they've never really gone forward anywhere after they've got James Ward-Prowse, who's good at free kicks.
It's a weird one with old Ralph Rabbit Hutch, because it always seems to be every season that you get to sort of December and they've started off all right, and it's like, oh, this guy could be managing a big club soon.
Is this when they kick on?
Yeah, and then by the end of the season, it's like, get him out. He's an absolute chancer.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to win our game in hand on them, it would put us only 3 points behind them, which is mad when you think about it, how terrified we are and how terrible we've been at times.
Yeah, I mean, they are out of it, though, I'm fairly sure. But, yeah.
I'd tell you what, it would have put a different slant on things if we'd have beaten them.
Why didn't we just do that?
We should have done, shouldn't we?
We should have done that, then we'd be feeling a lot better about everything. But as it is, we're in bother. And your favourite website, Dan? The 538 projection thing that they do?
What are you looking at nonsense for?
Our chances of relegation, when you introduced this, we were 10%, went to 18. This is likelihood for relegation.
Yeah.
10%, no chance, more or less. 18%, fine. 45%, okay. 50% now.
Yeah.
Weirdly, though, which makes me doubt their whole system, there's a projected league table there which has us on the same points as Burnley, but above them.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, is it?
That's because of the goal difference. That's wrong. Yeah. So why have you introduced this complete farce, these complete charlatans into this?
What I will say is, and I know I'm undermining all the points that I was leaning on in recent weeks, but it does kind of show how silly the whole algorithm is, that a one game or a couple of one games, I mean, there's only a points difference between us and Everton, and we're on the same points as Burnley, and yet Everton have got a 10% chance of going down and us 50%.
Although I guess with the goal difference, you'd say it's sort of 2 points.
No, but I was saying, but why has it swung so much? How come we were reduced so far, and actually all it's taken is a couple of wins for the other side to be 1 point in front of us, and the other one on the same points as us?
Has the algorithm watched us? Is this the problem?
maybe AI is getting really, really good, but yeah. I mean, by the way, Watford have formally gone down now. I think I might have said last week that they were down, but they weren't actually fully mathematically down.
Not fully, but they have been for weeks.
But they've been Hodgson down for weeks.
Yeah, I mean, since we beat them, essentially, they've been down. That was their very last chance of getting out of it.
It was nice to see Roy Hodgson celebrate relegation with a lap of honour at Selhurst Park.
He applauded all the Palace fans, didn't he? Had a nice time there, and then went straight down the tunnel. Didn't see the Watford fans.
Said they were too far away, weren't they?
They were too far away for an old man's weary, creaking bones to make it all the way over to that side of the pitch. That's so funny, I know. And he was having a jolly nice time. He saw Wilf Zaha and some of his other former players at Palace. So maybe he thought he was still there. Who knows?
Burnley lost, though, and that was good.
Yeah.
Particularly good because it was a home game against Villa, who've not been in good form, and they have to play Villa again. So it gives you hope that they won't beat them.
Yeah, and they've got Spurs as well, which, all things, I know they've beaten Spurs already this season, but that was a different Spurs that they beat. And all things being equal, Spurs have got to win that, surely, given everything. So it then potentially goes to the last day. How do you feel about that?
Not good at all. Obviously I don't want us to be down ahead of it, but I do want this all to be over as quickly as possible. Yeah. is the feeling I have from it. So I mean, we'll see what happens against Chelsea.
What's interesting, we spoke to Tony DeRigo over on the Extra Ball this week, and we got chatting about some of the themes that kind of run through dressing rooms, and Leeds were right up against it in 1991, 1992, in the wake of, it was the 4-0 defeat at Man City, and they all got back into the dressing room and they looked at it and they said, well, we've got this many games to go, it's not over yet, but what they concentrated on was the controllables, stuff that in front of them that they could control, which was their own performance. And he said, and what it boils down to is it's just winning football matches. It's the same game that you play when you're 5, when you're 10, it's the same pitch, it's 11 against 11 on a patch of grass. Simplify it back down to that, and you just need to go out and win a football match. And I think sometimes we do pile so much emotion and meaning onto this sort of stuff that it becomes so complex and so meaningful in our minds that we forget that it is just a football match we need to win, and a win will probably do us the world of good.
Probably not going to rally.
Yeah, I think Jesse will be quoting Lenny Kravitz soon with it ain't over till it's over. Which, I mean,
it's not over.
I don't think this week is going to change much, and I don't think we're going to see any changes of significance until Saturday, because I don't think we will.
We're not playing till Sunday.
Sunday even, whenever that is. The weekend is what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't think we will beat Chelsea. I think Everton will beat Watford, so then they'll be out of it. But I kind of think they are anyway, because I've always had them beating Watford down as a definite anyway. So we're into the weekend for the important stuff. But I'm not feeling great.
Watford did beat Everton earlier in the season, but I suppose they were trying at that point, and they had a different manager. So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to talk myself into this, but I'm not really convincing myself. And likewise, Burnley have got injuries now. Vidra's out for the season, and Tarkowski might be. So, unlike our completely fully fit squad, that might give us a bit of an advantage.
Didn't Vidra do his ACL and carried on playing or something like that?
I'm not sure, actually. Is that right?
He did a fairly serious ligament, and I think he must have felt like a twinge in it or something.
That'll be the Deitch influence still at play. Just get out there and run it off.
Yeah, sponge on it and off you go.
But yeah, it is good that other teams are having some injuries.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
But that leaves them with Ashley Barnes up front and the guy who's taller than your nan, and neither of which are scoring particularly many goals. So maybe a glimmer of hope there as well.
Yeah, I think somebody flagged up that they've scored, 2 in 60 appearances between them or something daft like that, their front line. So not a lot of goals, potentially porous in defence. There may just yet be enough. Their incompetence might yet save us, because it's going down to the final day pretty much, isn't it?
I mean, unless we can pull something out against Chelsea, which I don't see it.
I mean, would you take frustrating them and getting a 0-0?
What? The question really is, how many points would we accept now if offered? Or would you take? I think we'd all take 6 for definite. Would you both take 4?
I think so.
If Burnley only get 3,
I was going to say, would you take 3?
I guess it goes back to the question of what you think Burnley are going to do.
That's what I mean. Right now, it's hard to know, isn't it? What exactly we need? Because I think 4 would probably be all right.
Well, 4 is going to then take you up to 38 points, which has been more than enough for most seasons.
And 3 might be all right. I might accept 3 now if it was offered.
I mean, 1 might be enough.
It might, which would be a horrible way to end the season.
It would be hilarious if we stayed up at 1 more point.
I'm telling you now, mark me on this, if we stay up, it'll be done like that. It'll be 1 point, and it'll be the final day, because that's Leeds.
It'll be the final day when we need a point. We only need a point.
And people, I think, on the comments of the match ball, where I tried to point this out and said we might actually still squeak this, have moaned at me for being too positive. Get real. But if you're too negative, you get told you're being too negative. I actually, and I said this on propaganda, I think it's flip of a coin territory now.
And also, being too positive is potentially suggesting we're getting 1 point out of 9. I mean, that's not hugely positive.
My positivity just remains in the fact that there's still a lot of road to run in this, and Burnley are not great. We're not great. One of us is going to go down, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily because one of us suddenly discovers Champions League form. So why not us? It's a 50-50 shot, isn't it?
Would you take just tossing a coin now and not having to do the 3 games?
No, because I'm all right now. Whatever happens, I've relaxed about this. Were we talking about this on propaganda, or were we saying it off air? I can't quite remember, but I'm fine about it now. Whatever happens. I think I reached my stress capacity weeks ago, and I've just chosen. And it goes back to what I was saying there about Dorigo, about managing what you can manage. So I can choose to get stressed about this or not, and it's not going to affect the outcome.
It is true. I think people need to understand that as well. Being negative on here has no influence about anything.
No. Me saying those words, it don't matter.
Don't make any difference. Just like wearing a certain pair of socks makes no difference. Yeah.
What Michael's saying is none of it means
if you didn't
anything.
Sit if you sat like in a different seat than you normally would, that didn't have any influence. If you didn't have a drink at the same pub you always go to, that didn't have any influence either. We have very little influence on things. In the ground, there's something to be done for the chanting and whatnot. But as I said the other week, I've seen Leeds well and truly cheered through a couple of relegations, so it doesn't make as much difference as people would think. I think what it does do is mean it can make the experience not completely awful. Can that sort of thing.
How close do you think it is to turning the atmosphere? Because I think you get the sense that the club would very much like a positive atmosphere for the last couple of games at home, which they're going to get against Chelsea. It's going to start well, always does, because I think the fans know, as we demonstrated at the end of the Man City game, that the bit that we can control is being loud for them and supportive for them, and then hopefully they can deliver on the pitch. But as we saw against Villa, there will come a breaking point at some point when the frustrations spill over, and there is a day of reckoning coming, one way or another. Hopefully it's after Brentford and we can say, bloody hell, that was close, let's never do that again, as you were saying on propaganda, Michael. Or, it's get into them, fuck them up.
I think they've got Chelsea, haven't they? Where I think it will kind of similar vibe to City, maybe. I think come Brighton, it depends on other results, doesn't it? But I think it could get quite angry there potentially. I also think Marsh's substitutions could have a part to play in that, because we've all been wanting to see Joffy. We've seen him get dragged off at the weekend without him really touching the ball. He's done it in the past, hasn't he, where he's brought Robin Koch on for attackers and stuff, which I just don't think he can't afford to do it now, can he? He's under scrutiny, as we have seen to the reaction to his press conference today. People have run out of patience with him, not to the extent of calling for him to go, but I don't think people really want to put up with more of his bullshit, to be honest.
Yeah, and as I was saying over on propaganda, I think that's because there's no result being seen yet. We don't know what the net effect of him doing the motivational quotes, talking about them. I mean, that stuff, if we stay up, none of that stuff matters, and we'll go, all right then, that was the ends that justifies the means. As long as you get there, fine. But at the minute, there's been a lot of talking, and unfortunately, from the club's perspective, there's been a lot of talking all year about this stuff. And you even go back to January, when not moving in the January window, the justification for it was based around Bielsa's ability, and then they fired him a month later.
And I think, to be fair, that as much as there is growing frustration with Marsh, it's still nowhere near as much as there is frustration with the board. I think they're more likely to be a target of songs and things like that.
I wonder if they feel like they've done anything wrong, because the fans certainly
I'm sure they won't do it this way again. Put it that way. There's no way they would look back on this season and go, yep, wouldn't change anything with that. That went absolutely perfectly.
Because they, I'm sure, would argue that given the 9th place finish, you have to then go all in with Bielsa again. They weren't to know at that stage that his method might start to fall apart. So when it does start to fall apart, you've got to act. They've acted. They've put in who they think is the best man for the job. Would they feel like they've done anything wrong?
Yeah, they must do.
Well, the timing maybe, or do they look at maybe with the Bielsa situation? With again, these are conversations for 2 weeks down the road, aren't they? Really, but would they look at the Bielsa situation and say we let that get out of hand? Because I think that's probably been the big failing. If you're going to include Bielsa as part of the blame for what's gone wrong this season,
and he does have to take a share of it,
absolutely,
because we were not playing well.
But he has, because he's lost his job.
Yes,
so he has taken. He's undoubtedly taken his share of the blame. But it's that phrase of the tail wagging the dog, isn't it? If everything was done that Bielsa wanted and they lost faith in it, maybe you try and mitigate against potential failures. You look for the weak points in the system, don't you? Like tiny squad, injuries, so on and so forth.
Yeah, the thing is, no one's going to blame Bielsa at the end of the season if we go down.
I think they will.
I think his name would be sung. It will probably end up being sung in the stadium, and he'd be perceived as the least worst option under those circumstances. Yeah, I think he would be fairly unscathed in all of this, because there was still time for him to turn it around, even though I don't think he would have done. Personally speaking, I think the point it'll turn would be Brighton. I think and it depends on what happens elsewhere as well, because Burnley don't play midweek, do they? So they can't gain on us in the midweek.
Correct, yeah.
But they could. When did they get?
They play the Thursday between.
And I'm trying to think, when do the games kick off on the weekend? Are they ahead of us, or is it the same time?
What the timings of them? I have got them on a separate set of notes. Bear with me.
I'm just trying to remember how it. Just trying to think how
they kick off at noon, don't they?
I'm trying to think how this could pan out in the stadium.
They kick off at noon at Spurs, and then we kick off at 2:00.
So if they have won that game or got something from that game, and then we're losing against Brighton. I mean, if they've won that game and we lose against Brighton, we are down. To look at it that way. Well, assuming we get nothing from Chelsea.
Yes, it's noon. Yeah, and then the Everton-Brentford game is after us, so we're sandwiched right in the middle there.
Jesus.
And then they've got their games in hand. Both Everton and Burnley play on Thursday the 19th ahead of the final day. So it's likely to roll through to at least that Thursday, if not the final day.
Would it help if Massimo turned up at Brentford in the away end with a hot dog? Just to lighten the mood a little bit. Get us back to that.
People liked that, didn't they?
People thought he was a great character. Maybe Radrizzani should do the same. Hot dogs for everyone, guys.
Well, while we're on the bleak relegation talk,
in addition to the t-shirts,
the 23s. We'll talk about the t-shirts in a sec. Actually, the 23s have gone down as well, which is obviously a blow. And that's actually part of the same problem, isn't it? The fact that we pulled so many 23s into the first team. They were travelling with the first team when the 23s were playing, that it's depleted that squad to the extent where they've been playing a lot of 18s and they've paid for it with divisional status. So part of the so-called succession plan through to the first team has been massively damaged by trying to get them through into the first team because we needed them.
I mean, is it wrong to say it was quite funny at full time at Arsenal to then look at my phone and go, "Oh right,
I'm relegated." Brilliant.
But the 23s, yeah, like you say, they've kind of been decimated by the injuries in the first team as much as anything. But there is work to be done there as well. Like, they've not had a proper left back all season. It's been Leo Hjelde playing there, or Liam McCarron, who is a winger. And likewise at right back, even when Drama was there at the start of the season, Chris Moore, who's a centre half, has been playing there. It's kind of similar to the first team, where they've built a squad of wingers and little attacking midfielders. But there are some kind of glaring holes in that squad. Whether relegation actually matters a great deal at that level, I'm not too sure. It's such a strange league and setup and style of football. But given the club have put so much stock on it and told us how brilliant it is, and you've got Marsh on Sunday telling us we're going to have the best academy in 3 years, it's not a great look.
That's actually the timing of that. It's not necessarily that Marsh is doing all the press coverage. Maybe what he's saying, it's like, read the room a little bit. And just like 2 minutes ago, as we record this, the club have just announced memberships for next season.
Excellent.
For 22-23. So,
how much are they?
I don't know. I haven't actually followed the link yet. I will do that because one of the criticisms of it this year was that there was no value in it at all for people, other than the right to get into a queue to buy tickets.
Won't be a problem next season.
What do you think of the Dallas t-shirts then? Because we had a bit of fun laughing at it at the weekend. The gravestone-shaped t-shirts.
He was very gravestone-y. I suppose, what did Dallas think of it would be my question. If Dallas saw it and went, "Ooh, what are you done that for?" then I'd like, maybe, was he consulted? I don't know. He doesn't seem very Stuart Dallasy to make himself the centre of attention like that.
I think it was a nice thing to do from his perspective, definitely, and I'm sure he would have liked the show of support from everybody. Was it necessary though?
I'm not totally sure.
It feels like just a desperate attempt at motivating the players as much as anything.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's like it's an attempt to bring togetherness, like try and unite around Stuart Dallas's broken femur. As like, we can keep ourselves up because of.
If you're being cynical about it, you'll say, was it not for the cameras as well? Same as that big display was against Man City. I mean, what is it for us, or is it for the watching world?
Yeah, and this sort of thing with football, it can veer a bit towards like mawkish. This sort of thing as well, where it's just a bit overblown,
bit Liverpool-y. Because they wore the t-shirts for Van Dijk, didn't they?
And for Suarez as well, when he'd racially abused someone. That was a nice touch when they did that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's fine, isn't it? Probably. It probably has no influence on anything. So, whatever.
I think the only thing, and I want to qualify this by saying I want Leeds United to succeed and be the best version of itself, but to jump on this stuff straight away, and it was a nice gesture. Maybe you enjoyed holding up the word Yorkshire as well, but for them to not have the presence of mind to do anything for the families of Chris and Kev a month ago when that anniversary came around, and if you are to judge by the comments of George Spate on Twitter, the families weren't consulted about it, so that they can sort out 2,500 t-shirts in the away end at a drop of a hat, but they didn't do anything about that. And then, which do our fans think is more important in the grand scheme of things in terms of our identity and the things that are important to our identity? I don't know. It's just a question I wish somebody would answer.
I know what you mean, but it's for the way it looks is important for I guess the TV audience and the worldwide people looking at Leeds United going, that's nice, they've done a big word on the stand, how lovely. But yeah, Yorkshire's a bit of I don't know, I find Yorkshire a bit of a weird one to go with as well on the stand. I know we do sing it, but it feels like, I don't know, there are obviously lots of Yorkshire clubs, not as good as us, but still.
Well, Huddersfield are the Yorkshire club.
They are, yes, of course.
So there's that 10% increase in the availability of general admission tickets for next season, which increases the chances of members getting...
How have they done that? They built some more seats?
I don't know. This is including extensive dialogue with various supporters bodies, including Supporters Trust and the Supporters Advisory Board. The club are introducing a new and exclusive tier of membership called My Leeds Priority, which rewards and recognises long-standing existing My Leeds club members who have been a consecutive paying official member or season ticket holder for the last 10 years.
Right.
Okay. That ties in with changing to SeatGeek as the ticketing provider. One of the things that they were talking about was introducing some scheme of loyalty.
Yeah, so it looks like they're ring fencing some tickets for that band of supporters as well.
If people want tickets, if there's a lot of demand, it's always going to be a contentious thing, is this, because there's always going to be someone who was like, you know, how do you balance someone who had a season ticket for 20 years but not the last 5 years? Like, are they more loyal than someone who's had one for the last 3 years? Like, just the way people always want like individual circumstances to be taken into account. It's like, well, but I lived away during that period, so I should still have some loyalty for that. It's like, it sounds like there's no obviously fair way of doing it.
The rest of the home match tickets are being sold via ballot thereafter.
Okay.
So rather than the bun fight trying to get in first, it's going to be done via ballot.
It's quite a strange loyalty of 10 years. Is that quite a big thing? Not, you know, based because the ones that SeatGeek have done around other Premier League clubs are a certain amount of games in previous seasons or whatever. Because for instance, I've got friends who have been season ticket holders for years, or members for years, but for instance under Chilino we're just like, well, fuck this, which, you know, is understandable. But I mean, I don't know,
10 years as well. If you're 18, that's kind of harsh.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
why weren't you a member at 8?
It's more than likely, I suspect, they've gone to the database and said, well, how many will that put into that category? Well, if it's 10,000, let's say, then that's a good cut-off point, or it might be 9 years or 8 years, depending on how many.
I mean, that's the thing. I am saying this as a guy who was at uni less than 10 years ago, so for 3 years I didn't have a membership.
It's all me.
Well, exactly, yeah. I want the ticket, mate. Come on.
Absolutely sick of it. So the membership pricing structure, 75 quid for the priority tier, 45 quid for juniors, same again for My Leeds Plus, and then the bog standard My Leeds is 50 and 30. So we'll have to look into that and maybe reflect on it another week, because it's just out. But yeah, SeatGeek sorting all that out. And there you go. Part 1 done. Not the happiest part 1 of the season. Soon be over.
We can say that with a degree of certainty.
Yeah, it'll be done and dusted in about 10, 12 days, whatever it might be. So we can know what we got ourselves into, can't we, when we come around to that. So part 2 on the way with the preview for Chelsea and Brighton. Stick about.
The Square Ball Podcast.